This is the Ryder and Lisa podcast.
Brought to you by Yegg Property Pros. Powered by Real Broker. Get a realtor who knows. Call the pros.
What are you giving up in 2024, and will it be as challenging as what 50 Cent has decided to give up?
I know Selena Gomez is trying to stay off social media for the 4,000th time. She's like, I'm focusing on what really matters. I'm taking a break. And somebody retweeted and said, okay, girl, talk to you tomorrow.
Yes.
I died. It's
great
so funny
tweet.
because it's true.
Yeah.
What are you giving up in 2024, and do you think you'll be successful? 50 Cent took to his Instagram page yesterday and shared these gorgeous images of him sitting in a suit. He's got his shirt, his tie, and a cigar, of course. Very classy. And by his side, he has a glass of his own brand of Branson
Cognac.
That's what it is. And the caption says, my new idea is so big, I don't have time to be distracted. I'm practicing abstinence. I've been meditating and focusing on my goals. He also just broke up with whoever it was that he was dating. So
This is a phenomenal point of view. If straight men were to diffuse the noise by abstaining from women and other distractions for a year, they'd make 10 years worth of progress.
oh my gosh. Men think about sex every 3 seconds. 1, 2,
Oof.
3. Perverts. Okay, so something else I just realized is 50 Cent is 48. What we need to have an entire year dedicated to 50 Cent in 2 years.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Like he's literally
the year
50.
of 50.
He's literally 50 Cent. That's so funny.
like that. You've heard of the rival dad thing before, yeah?
Yeah, like if there's a dad on the cul-de-sac that did a better job of mowing the lawn, then you have to up your game. Is that kind of a good example?
Yeah, in August, that's a good example.
Okay. What about shoveling right now?
Yeah, I mean, like if his driveway is pristine, you got to get out there even with the broom. You got to shovel, then sweep. Like it's just part.
It's just a thing.
Way she goes.
Even if you're friends with them, there's still a little bit of competition.
I heard possibly the funniest rival dad take I'd heard in quite some time, or maybe I read this, that he's going to leave the garage doors open on his house.
Okay.
So that the rival dad's wife knows what a well-organized garage looks like.
Oh, that is so funny. I will be honest, whenever I see into someone's garage, I will see if it's organized or not. I truly will. And I'm always so impressed when it's extremely clean.
So this guy was onto something. He's got all the ladies in the neighborhood talking.
Like, you've driven by some of them where when the garage is open, you're like, oh, they label things. Like they have all those bins stacked on the side. Everything has a place on the wall. Nothing's on the ground. It is fascinating to me.
I'm so far from that. That my garage is where things go when I don't know where else to put them.
Yeah, that's where things go to die. Pete Davidson has opened up that he was high on ketamine at Aretha Franklin's funeral.
Ketamine?
And he's like...
That's horse tranquilizer pill, right?
Yeah. So
I was at a house party once that my friend asked me to come with because she didn't really know the guys, and she was worried that maybe like it would be a pretty rough party. She just knew the one guy. I'm pretty sure that they were
doing K.
That's what they were doing, and it was... Watching them was a wild ride, so I can't imagine doing it and then being at a funeral with like the world's biggest celebrities there around you too. Like,
and
what a ride.
honoring Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
Guy should have a little more RESPCT.
Nice one.
Thanks. I did come up with that joke.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And I tweeted it, and now I'm kind of backpedaling and worried that it's such an obvious joke that it's going to look like I stole it, but I promise I didn't. Anyway, we wanted to ask you about times that you were so high.
Well, no, just lit up. Let's say like
Lit.
even if you like drank and then all of a sudden somebody's like, I'm picking you up, we have to go to blank.
You were drunk on tequila on your first date with your ex-wife by accident, kind of. So that's a great example. It could be that you were on cough syrup and then had to talk to someone and you were out of it. It could be after, you had some sort of surgery. It could be that you smoked a huge joint and then had to talk to someone or go and do something and you didn't know about it. There are so many funny stories out there.
Well, and the one that I'm thankful, knock on wood, hasn't happened to me at any point is like, you have a couple friends over, you're playing cards, kids go to bed, you end up having a few. Like, what if a kid trips in that situation or something?
Gets
going to the
injured?
bathroom and gets injured and needs to go to the hospital.
You have to get an Uber to the hospital. That is mortifying.
Well, and it's the doctors and nurses would be able to smell it on you.
I actually think it would be better to get an Uber or taxi just because you don't have to pay for parking. That's a whole other
Another good reason
Shouldn't
to
have
just
to pay
Uber.
for parking at a hospital.
Good point.
Anyway.
780-784-7107. I tried to do a radio show once after smoking one, and it was the worst show I'd ever had in my life. I lost my train of thought seconds into every time I opened the mic. Like, it was just... If the bosses were listening that day...
They were.
I would have been done.
Really?
Yeah, it was that bad. They would have been like, why did this guy choose broadcasting?
It's true, because there was that one St. Patrick's Day that I had to do a shot every time I screwed up a tongue twister about Irish wristwatches. And I was in the bag.
Yeah.
I was unwell. Could not speak for the life of me.
And trying to do like a 1 minute flawless kind of like ad spot promoting the bar that we were at.
Yeah.
You were just terrible.
Why? You know when you drink too much and then you start to sound shrill?
And sweary.
Kristen just texted in saying, I got hammered on Jell-O shots in a shed party in Newfoundland, and then I had to go and do a safe party for the high school graduation. That is terrible. Kristen, you have to be the one that gets people safely to, like we said, the emergency. What if somebody needed stitches?
That's exactly what we were looking for,
That
though.
is so funny. Stacy just wrote in, oh my gosh, so many times smoking weed before playing card games and taking a while to get there and understand or remember how to even play. Playing card games after partaking should be illegal.
You with board game instructions, even if you're stone sober, you're the worst.
I don't want to hear about it. Just play the game. I'm more of like a visual learner. I don't want to hear it.
No, but
I'm not listening.
Often a lot of games you need at least the base amount of knowledge to begin the game.
But I am zoning out.
Yeah, it's not even worth it.
So tell us your story about a time that you were under the influence. Let's say that. It's a bit more inappropriate than smoking a huge bowl. Like what I've been
when's
saying.
the last time you were blasted on ketamine
exactly,
at a funeral?
So we were talking about this because Pete Davidson's opening up about how he was literally on ketamine at Aretha Franklin's funeral. So get your stories into 780-784-7107.
Play 107, Ryder and Lisa, thank you for checking out the show. We're talking about times that you were inappropriately buzzing. Whatever your vice was, where were you and what were you doing?
So we're talking about this because Pete Davidson admitted that he was on ketamine at Aretha Franklin's funeral. And he's like, I have to live with that for the rest of my life. I regret it.
It's a wild sentence even. And if he regrets it, why would he go public with it? I just don't...
Oh, I think there's just a lot of guilt. He's the type of person that goes to a lot of therapy and needs to get things off his chest. This text is a first-time texter, so no name attached to it, maybe for the best. They wrote in saying, I was high on mushrooms with my friends, and then I had an anaphylactic reaction to a wasp sting, and I had to get rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. It was the worst experience ever.
The craziest part would be like wondering if you were actually in the ambulance.
Yeah, is this happening?
This text from Brennan, I have a little social anxiety. So I went to take an edible before I went to my daughter's Christmas concert. Just
oh my gosh.
No, you got to hear them out.
Okay.
Just a light one to help me with my social anxiety.
Okay.
I mixed up my gummies and I took a very, very strong one. To be perfectly honest, it was actually a pretty lit show.
I'm so good. You're like standing up. You're like, my kid deserves an award for this. When in reality, it was like out of tune. They were facing the wall instead of the crowd.
They were playing the cymbals.
Here's another list of 7 somethings. It's Ryder and Lisa's top 7 at 7.
We're counting down the top 7 things that you would read while you were on the toilet back before you had a phone to scroll.
Tell me that Uncle John's bathroom reader is on the list.
Okay. It's actually quite a popular text that's rolling in.
Yeah.
So we got to give it an honorable mention, as well as puzzle books. A lot of people are saying that. And Reader's Digest. I feel like a lot of households had a basket or something beside the toilet with just several different kinds of magazines in it.
Yeah.
So there are some particular ones that have made it into the top 7.
I always wondered with like Sudoku, why some of them were filled out. Like, do you bring a pen with you to the potty?
Yeah.
I suppose you did if that was your thing.
Coming in at number 7, the instructions on how tampons are inserted and becoming terrified of toxic shock syndrome. You know, you'd look underneath the sink and there'd be that box, and maybe you were too young to even know how they work. So you'd open up the instructions, which was like a huge page.
Okay.
And you would read about how toxic shock syndrome can kill you. And you'd be like, well, I don't want to deal with these.
I don't need too many details, but does that have to do with like keeping it in too long?
Yes.
Okay. Next.
Number 6, Archie comics. Another very popular text that's rolling in on the show this morning. Were you Team Betty or Veronica?
I kind of like the idea of both.
Oh my gosh.
What? It was
course.
like, well,
coming in at number 5, the Guinness Book of World Records. It was hefty. It was a heavy read.
yeah.
Lots of pages, but there's one page in particular, 2 of them actually, that stand out to me, and I want to know if they're both coming to your mind right now. The girl with the hair that goes all the way down to the floor.
Yeah, I do remember her.
And then the guy with remember?
The super dangly fingernails.
The guy with the nails.
Yeah. They were nasty.
He had the world's longest nails.
Well, and it was strange when you were reading it on the toilet too, and you knew that you had to wipe. Because
how does this guy
how
do
does
it?
that guy wipe?
Ew. Number 4, the horror dating stories in 17 magazine. Even if you were a little too young to be reading this, I remember reading these little stories and being like, oh, how embarrassing. And I had like never had a boyfriend in my life.
Yeah, we were more of like the boring mom chooses the magazines, like home and gardening.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, that's why I have such a pizzazz for decor.
Coming in at number 3, National Geographic, learning about the world, because we didn't have the World Wide Web to teach us about what's happening in other countries and what the animals were doing, and just learning about life and, to be perfectly honest, anatomy.
Yeah, well, that's it. It would be the only magazine that could be out in like a family-friendly situation that you knew you'd be able to see some in sets, like some topless ladies, you know?
Number 2, counting down the top 7 things you would read on the toilet before smartphones existed.
Just try to be here for your list.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I know.
We all flip to those pages.
Oh, I just thought of another person in the world, Guinness Book World Records,
What?
that you'd
Who?
see a lot. The guy whose neck was super stretched.
Yes, they had the rings.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
It's kind of cool.
a wild one.
Number 2, chicken soup for the soul. Just sobbing. Luckily, hopefully, there'd be toilet paper right there.
Yeah.
Blow your nose and
True that.
wipe your tears.
Where did it go?
It's still out there. And of course, coming in at number 1, the most popular answer on the text sign, we all used to do it. What would you read while sitting on the toilet before smartphones existed? The shampoo bottle, the instructions. Lather, rinse, repeat. And to be honest, never really followed through. Would always just wash once. But now that I'm an adult, if you do the double wash, your hair
Yeah.
is so clean.
Oh, really?
Well, the first time you shampoo it, it gets rid of all the oils. The second time, it's to like actually clean it.
I always found it interesting the difference between reading the back of like dad's shampoo bottle that just said like soap.
Yeah,
and
it's like
mom's
3-in-1.
Mom's that was like 13 vitamins and nutrients harvested from coconut and infused with watermelon waterfalls. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many words on hers.
I love the specific shampoo that is getting texted in now. There's so many different brands.
Okay. Head and Shoulders, big
Head
one.
and Shoulders,
Yeah.
Tresemme. Barry, who streams our show from Texas, said the hair thinning shampoo bottle, the one that smelled like mint.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
What's that one called? Neoxin or
Yeah, it was
something like
white
that?
with the black writing.
The white, but it had gray. And they were really heavy. And then there was that that Aussie brand one in the purple bottle. It smelled
Yes.
so good.
With the kangaroo on it.
Oh, it smelled amazing. Anyway, that was the top 7 things we used to read on the toilet before smartphones.
My dad pulled a sweet boomer move yesterday, and I thought maybe some others would like to contribute with sweet boomer moves they've seen. You know, they get a lot of flack, the baby boomers, but they've done a lot for this country.
Yeah.
So I think we can recognize
the positives.
Some of the positives, even if they're a little bit ridiculous. So my dad, here's the sweet boomer move he pulled. He's tried to avoid computers for the most part for his life. Like, he doesn't mess with them.
He's 75.
Online banking, no chance. He goes into the bank still on a weekly basis to do his banking. I don't know what he's banking, but
right. And he likes checks, like no e-transfers.
Oh,
it's
no.
not a thing to him.
None of that.
You know.
But this one was next level. He was reading an article, and it had a message in it that he thought was important for me. It was about a radio host in the States who was also a stand-up comic, and ended up saying something on stage that got him fired from his radio job.
Oh, okay. Yeah, your dad's worried about you. You never know, right?
Yeah, because I jump on stage every once in a while and say things that are a little more risky than I would say here, just because usually you're performing to an adult audience, whereas here, you know, there's some kids listening. You got to be a little more careful, right? Anyway, so he had this important message he wanted me to get my hands on.
Didn't want to pick up the phone and call you and tell you said article.
No, or like email it, find it online and email it, no chance.
Yeah, not hitting that copy link and sending it in a Facebook DM.
Cuts it out of the magazine he read it in and popped it in the mail for me, and then let me know when I was talking to my mom on the phone yesterday. I mailed you an article that I think you might be interested in, and it was just like, it's so foreign now to think of doing something like that, like reading something and being like, you got to see this. Let me pop it in the mail.
Let me just get my scissors.
Right? Talking about the most boomer thing you've seen someone do lately. Maybe it's a loved one, like in my dad's situation where he read an article he thought I'd be interested in, cut it out of the magazine and mailed it to me.
Anna wrote in saying, my dad still uses the yellow pages. He'll pull it out and I find what he's looking for on Google before he's even pulled his reading glasses out. That is so cute.
But, like, what's the rush?
What do you mean, what's the rush? If you can Google it right away, Google it.
I know, but if if you're like emergency dentist needed, that you'd want to use Google. But if you're just like, we should find a good travel agent, you know, or it's like something that you've got a bit of time to look for.
Yeah, you go with the one that has the best Google review.
I know. I just appreciate some of the old school stuff. Like Christine says, my dad drinks a 4 liter of milk a day.
So does my dad.
A 4 liter?
Yeah. My mom would get so mad, especially if she, like, every once in a while she'd get chocolate milk.
Oh, those were big days.
Gone. It'd be gone in an hour.
Yeah.
And she'd get so mad at us because she just bought it. Even though she didn't drink it, she was just mad that we had already gone through everything.
It's like, what'd you buy it for?
Yeah, don't buy it then. We're excited. We like chocolate milk. Chelsea just wrote in saying, yesterday my dad said, I haven't seen you in like a year, and the last time I saw him was Christmas, so 2023. So yeah, the dad jokes are still alive and well. Randy texted in, my aunt did the same thing that your dad did, Ryder. A few years ago, she mailed us a clipped newspaper article about home prices or something. But it's funny because she lives here in the city. So she could have, like,
the amount of time it
come over.
Yeah, exactly. The amount of time it would have taken to do all that, she could have just came over.
What I like that boomer parents still do is a lot of them still struggle with emotional connection. Like, let's be real. Some of them are just still bad at it.
Yeah, dad doesn't really know how to hug.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's usually a side hug.
Yeah.
You know? Just like kind of an awkward
or you're just
2-second
holding a stiff man's body in your arms. Yeah.
It's horrible. So I think that we have come a long way with
For sure.
the next generation of parents. And I just love that boomer dads will talk highly of you, but never to your face. It's like you always hear it through your mother.
They don't want you to know.
Your dad was saying how proud he is of you. I'm like, well, I'd like to hear it. Where's the proof? Film it for me. I'd love to see it. Okay, I just thought of another boomer move that my mom still does. Ready?
Yeah.
Overcooks her chicken breast.
Oh, big time.
Because it was such a big deal in the 90s to get salmonella that parents everywhere were so scared. They would overcook their like you cut into the chicken and it turns to dust.
And the thing with chicken breasts is like they're not good when they're really overcooked.
No.
They're not they go from really good to terrible pretty quickly.
I also overcook my chicken. It's so dry. You're chewing it for hours.
Yeah.
Hours.
It's good for jaw exercising. Kids' insults can sting. I heard once, like, if you get told you're funny looking by a woman, she's miserable. Don't worry about her. If you get told you're funny looking by a dude, he's a prick. Don't worry about him. If you get told you're funny looking by a kid, you're funny looking.
They're just being honest. Brandon wrote in saying, my 4-year-old son was arguing with his mom, and I guess she said something along the lines of, keep it up and I'm going to call your dad. And he shot back immediately with, well, you don't have a dad.
No, I don't like that
I don't
one.
like that at all.
Wow, I thought it was going to be like, do you even know who he is? That would be a good chirp.
Man, there's some good ones rolling in. Like, kids can be so ruthless.
This one's got a nice sting to it, but it's not too mean, and it's like perfect because it was delivered by a grumpy 3-year-old. The text says, you see that door? I want you on the other side of it. That's a chirp,
Oh
man.
my gosh. Listen to this one that just rolled in from Melissa. I have a small gap between my teeth and I teach junior high. My students were chirping me and one of them goes, do you floss your teeth with a mattress?
Kid insults is what we're talking about.
So my daughter was about 3 years old, and she was looking at me lovingly and told me, she said, Mom, you're pretty ugly without makeup.
Oh, boy.
Oh my gosh.
But she was looking at you lovingly, meaning,
Yeah,
even though she thought you were a little bit ugly, she still loved you.
absolutely.
That's unconditional.
Absolutely.
Same thing went for me. The first time your daughter saw me without makeup, she said, you look different. And it was like not a night. It was not a compliment. Not in like a, you're looking good. It was like a, something's off with you. Jen wrote in saying, my teenager said, it doesn't matter if you ground me. You won't remember tomorrow anyway.
Wow, chirping the memory.
Yeah, that one stings.
The other day, my 4-year-old called me a heck.
This is a gooder and so innocent. My nephew, 1.5, attended a celebration of life with an open casket and went around saying, shh, sleeping.
Oh.
It's kind of hard to not giggle or smile in that situation.
And
right?
that's
'Cause
okay
they don't
once in
get
a
it.
while.
They don't get it.
Even at a funeral, it's okay to have the tension break once in a while.
A lot of teachers writing in that it's pretty common for students to roast them. Morgan says, I have my top 3 that stand out.
Okay, let's go for them.
Do you love cats? Because you look like a woman who would love cats.
Yes.
What makes me look like I have cats? Oh, just your glasses and your clothing. Number 2, I showed them an older picture of me and my husband. They said I look like his mother. And a girl asked me, why is the top of your hair so dark and the bottom so light? I made a hair appointment that same day.
Yes. Ruthless.
Ruthless.
Times you've been insulted by a child, sometimes they really sting.
They really do. So we got Nikki on the phone. Nikki, tell us about a time where your kid burnt you.
Yeah, so I was with my daughter, and she was trying to say she was my favorite kid because she's older than her brother, so she said she was my first love. And I told her that's not true because I had a high school boyfriend, and I obviously met her dad before she was born, to which she replied, okay, but I'm the only one that has stuck around.
Oh!
Oh my goodness.
Super burn.
That is a
Nikki!
super burn. Wow.
Did you look at her and go, touche?
Yeah, kind of, pretty much. I was like, you have a point. You do have a point.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, Nikki, thank you so much for the call.
No worries.
780-784-7107. We're going to announce our Throwback Throwdown songs here shortly. But first, we got one more story. Yours involves a 4-year-old, your cousin's kid. Fire away.
And he was drawing on this whiteboard, and he drew everybody in the family, his mom, his dad, grandma, grandpa, everybody. And then half an hour later, he was pulling all the DVDs off the shelf, and his grandma was like, no, you put those back. Those are dad's. You don't touch those. So he walked over to the whiteboard and erased grandma.
Whoa. That's hardcore.
I know. Just glared at her and went to his room.
Man, these are so good, eh?
So many good stories. Like, there are several that we haven't even gotten to on the text line. So thank you to everyone that contributes to our show and just makes it that much more fun.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's the kind of thing that we could bring back like soon, like in a week, do kid insults again.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get insulted, we want the first thing for you to think about after you lick your wounds. I should probably text us into Ryder and Lisa. They'd appreciate it. Any time of the day, we can check the text line. So feel free to get at us.
I mean, even if somebody just burned you.
Yeah,
if
immediately.
If you've got kids, write in and be like, hey, you're going to want to use this next time you bring up this topic. Guess what my kid just said to me?
Especially when it's fresh.
Oh,
yeah.
So good.
The Ryder and Lisa podcast.
Brought to you by Yegg Property Pros. Powered by Real Broker. Get a realtor who knows. Call the pros.
Play 107.